All right, so I will say welcome to the August 18th, 2025 meeting of the Carver School Committee. If everyone could please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So we're going to start off with comments from the EAPC. Thank you, Tom, for being with us. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No worries. I'm sorry being a bird. I wish I had something magical to say now with all the...
Tom, this better be good.
I feel some pressure here. Just know, good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had a great summer. I mean, it flew by. I know for all of us. I said, unfortunately, we have the opening days kind of match with one of the Carver. I won't be able to join the celebration, but I'm glad to say that Dave Wechter, our VP, will be making comments, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. Also, tomorrow we have new teacher orientation, so I look forward to seeing you guys over at Central Office tomorrow morning. So that's it. Sorry, I said I feel like a letdown after all that.
I'll see you tomorrow, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, I'm going to plug back in.
Do we have anyone?
There's no one else on the call
here?
besides Tom,
Okay.
currently.
Okay, well, just for transparency purposes, there's currently no one in the room, and there's currently no one online waiting to be recognized for public comment this evening. So I'm going to close that portion of our meeting, and we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the June 9th, 2025 open session.
I move that we approve the June 9th, 2025 open session minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. I actually had those. Okay. Sorry, bear with me a second. This is the background agenda. Okay, so are there any communications?
No communications this evening.
Okay, so then we shall move right into reports from the superintendent with personnel updates.
Okay, personnel updates. A lot of changes since we last met, which that's what happens in the summer. So we have some resignations, an announcement of retirement, some transfers of some new hires. So I will go through them. First, resignation. Eric Baldwin, math teacher at the middle high school. And Kristen Carmen, food services at the middle high school. Paul O'Brien, social studies teacher at the middle high school, announced his retirement, effective at the end of the school year. So Paul will be here for the year this year, but he's retiring effective 6/30/2026, and he just wanted to give the district plenty of time to plan for his retirement, which is great. So congratulations to Paul. We had some internal transfers over the summer. Stephen Mahoney, from Director of IT to Network Administrator. Brian Mahoney, from IT Specialist to Director of IT. Michael Grant, from In-School Suspension Supervisor to Lunch/Hall Monitor at the middle high school. Roberta Doyle, from Pre-K ESP Lunchroom Monitor to Pre-K ESP at the elementary school. Brooke Bishop, from Special Education Teacher to English Teacher for a one-year position at the middle high school. Denise Manning, from kindergarten ESP to a long-term substitute kindergarten special education teacher at the elementary school. Catherine Miller, from ESP in special education to RBT in special education at the elementary school. Andrea Mooney, from special ed teacher in the MAP program to special ed high school inclusion teacher at the middle high school. And Caitlin Fisk, from pre-K ESP to ESP in special education at the elementary school. We've had several new hires over the summer. Sarah Audette, long-term substitute in kindergarten ESP at the elementary school. Daniel Cogswell as a technology specialist. Justin Carpenter is an ESP in special education at the middle high school. Kate Finch, ESP special education at the elementary school. Aaron Heislop, ESP special education at the elementary school. Beth McNeil, RBT in special education at the middle high school. Sean Maroney, special education teacher, Carver Middle High School. Danielle Pigeon, ML teacher at the middle high school. Heather Rao as a math teacher at the middle high school. Lindsay Stork, special education teacher at the middle high school. Victoria Hannon as a long-term substitute teacher, and she's actually going to, in grade 3, but she's also going to do a long-term substitute in grade 4. She's going to start the year in grade 4 for Dave McKeechin, and then she'll go to carry Abby Simmons in grade 3 for maternity leave. So she's actually doing 2 long-term subs for us. Anthony Bennett, assistant athletic director at the middle high school. Timothy Melanson is a custodian, 3rd shift at the middle high school. Alessio Consoletti as a Spanish teacher at the middle high school. Cassandra Fleck, special education teacher at the elementary school. Lauren Lovely as an ESP, special education at the elementary school. Kiki McPhee is an ESP in special education at the middle high school. Alexis Naraki, ESP, special education at the middle high school. Cheryl Pitsley as an ESP job coach at the middle high school. Sarah Robbins, ESP, special education at the elementary school. Jennifer Williams, pre-K ESP and lunch monitor at the elementary school. And Nanette Lakima in food services at the middle high school. So that's all of our staff changes. As we have done traditionally in the district, we'll invite all of our new teachers to the first meeting in September. We'll have Ruby and Christine come and introduce them formally to the committee as their principals. So we'll plan for that for our September meeting.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the professional development review by John.
Yep, so we're glad to welcome John Mills here this evening officially for his first meeting as Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And he's going to take us through a little bit of what's going to happen in the first couple of days in terms of professional development. And if you give me 1 second, John, I will pull up the presentation.
Thank you.
And give me 1 second to
So Scott's opening
Share
up a presentation. You're going to advance it though, right?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. The PD plan for this year was created throughout last year by the District Professional Development Committee, led by Scott, with a number of district educators, and sort of a shout out has to go out to Meredith Erickson, too, my predecessor, who had done a lot of work creating this plan. So the plan, like you'll see in the next slide, is really tightly aligned with this year's district educational blueprint, which I believe is going to be talked about later on the agenda. But the goal of the professional development calendar was to make sure that we planned events that would allow the blueprint to be realized. So if we go to the next slide, the PD year really begins on the first day of school for teachers, the 25th, next Monday. In the morning, superintendent's going to welcome faculty, and then afterwards, the building principals in each of their respective buildings will welcome back their faculty, their returning faculty, as well as welcome their new faculty. In the afternoon, teachers will have a chance to work on classroom organization, and our educational support professionals, our ESPs, will receive several different sorts of trainings. The next day, the Tuesday.
If we do, just on the 25th for a second, just like to formally invite all the members of the committee to attend on the 25th. You understand with work schedules that may not be possible, but we'll start with breakfast at 8 o'clock in the cafeteria, and hopefully a presentation in the auditorium. My presentation auditorium will be around 8:45-ish, and with the goal of being done by 10. So anytime you can make between 8 and 10 would be greatly appreciated. We'd love to see you there. Sorry, John.
That's okay. No, thank you. So on Tuesday, as the plan becomes a little bit more differentiated based on what various groups of educators need, and that's a theme that you hear throughout the year. But our elementary faculty are going to be working on bridges training in the lower grades, grades 3 through 5. They'll also be doing some bridges work as well as units of study and the implementation of the new writing program. So they'll be working with a consultant as well as being provided time to implement some of those trainings. Special ed staff will continue to work on implementing the new IEP, process, as well as collaborating and planning for the needs of various students. At the middle high school, the faculty is going to spend a day with Scott McLeod, really wonderful educator, a member of University of Colorado's School of Education, an author of several books, who's going to be introducing the concept of deeper learning, or taking deeper learning to a deeper understanding with the faculty. And that's a full day. And really the goal there is to start to allow teachers to identify the strategies that, if they implement in their pedagogy, would help their students reach deeper understandings and connections within the curriculum.
And last year, myself and Ruby and Christine and Meredith had the opportunity to do a 2-day training with Scott McLeod. And then he assisted us with some work that we did with the department chairs and the curriculum team leaders this year. We sent John this summer, so John went and spent 2 days with Scott McLeod over the summer. And so I don't know if you want to touch on that experience at all, but he's really a powerful presenter. We're excited about having him come and do a full day with the middle high school staff on these concepts of student engagement and deeper learning.
Yeah, Scott really brings, as a lifelong educator, he brings a lens to this work with an eye towards giving teachers something concrete, something implementable. There is research-based foundations to everything he's doing, but he provides teachers the opportunity to break it down into chunks, to use a lens that they could see almost immediately how this could fit in their classroom, which makes this sort of training, this sort of professional development, it tends to be much more successful because you're taking something that you can use right away, as opposed to something that might, like I said, might be a little bit more theoretical. So Scott's a great presenter. He's going to be meeting with the department chairs this week virtually to discuss, this implementation a little bit further. So between district and building leadership, I think we've all had the opportunity to get to know Scott and the approach, and we'll really look forward to supporting teachers in implementing and doing this work within their instruction, within their curriculum, to help kids really find their voice within the curriculum and find opportunities to be more engaged, and ultimately to have learning happen much more consistently, and really have the kids really take some ownership of their own learning. So that's the full day on Tuesday, the second day. The next slide, I wanted to just point out a real great innovation that, once again, probably comes out of the curriculum team, but I know Ron Griffin's worked on it too, is at the beginning of the year, there's always a certain amount of training development that has to be provided to faculty. We often call it compliance training because you have to do it every year. That ends up taking a lot of time and sometimes energy away from other trainings that could ultimately enrich the classroom environment for kids. So the PD committee and Ron have worked with LITICS or ArcSed to bring in those trainings, those required trainings, in a virtual format, which allows teachers to more flexibly access the training when they have time, at their pace, repeat the things that they don't understand, and hopefully come away with a much better understanding. So I think that really deserves a little bit of attention for the innovation and the fact that it's going to help the rest of the PD calendar move along. So thank you. Next slide. You've approved the calendar, so I know you know the PD days, but this fall we've got several half days. Those turn into full days in November and December. January, February, half days, and then differentiated by building level in March around conferences, and then half days April, May, and at the very end of May. So once again, you're familiar with the calendar, but on those days there'll be a variety of topics that our faculties are going to be working on. Elementary school is really focusing on that continued implementation of Bridges, the math curriculum, as well as the two sides of the literacy implementation with the units of study, the continued with the reading comprehension, but also really importantly, the writing, the implementation, as they become more effective and impactful with units of study. Lower grades are also going to be working on the UFly as a new approach to phonics in their classroom. They'll also have time this year to look at their science curriculum. As you know, the classrooms received interactive panels, so that the training's ongoing to help teachers really master that. There'll be some educators that will have the opportunity to be trained in Orton Gillingham. And then lastly, I skipped over artificial intelligence because both elementary and high school faculties will have the opportunity this year to really begin to look at artificial intelligence and gain some understanding. We plan on having a district technology committee that will work on supporting teachers with the passage of, hopefully the passage of the AI policy by the school committee. But that's going to go hand in hand with the work that we'll be doing with teachers this year to understand artificial intelligence in the classroom. So at this point, I'm kind of skipping over to the middle high school side. I spoke about deeper learning is definitely a focus, AI, and then classroom culture is a focus both at the middle high as well as the elementary school as we look at how do we make sure that we provide classrooms and schools that are welcoming for all students and really allow all students to enjoy a sense of belonging. Lastly, the high school will also continue working on their NEASC follow-up. Busy year, but we thank you for setting aside, building a calendar that allows lots of time throughout the year for teachers to focus on this. And once again, the great work from of the committee last year pulled all this together, and I think it's going to really help teachers build capacity in a variety of ways that will help their students.
We're excited about some outside groups that we're bringing in this year. So obviously Scott McLeod, we talked about Scott. We're also bringing in a person named Matt Mervis. Matt specializes in AI and AI integration, and he's going to be doing a training for teachers in grades 3 through 12. And at 6 through 12, he's actually going to do 2 half days. So he's going to do like an overview of what's the impact of AI in education, then do like a very specific strategies of what types of tools should teachers be integrating. And he presented for us in the ALT team over the summer. It was really powerful. It was outstanding. So we're excited that Matt's going to be joining us for a few days. And then Dr. Cleese Warnham is going to come back again and do a presentation at each faculty. And I'll send that date out to the school committee members just so you know. I think it's the 17th at the elementary school, the half day, and then the November full day at the middle high school. So it'll give you the opportunity to go see Dr. Warnham. So we're excited about those people that we're bringing in.
Excellent.
That's my thank you slide is the next one.
Yeah.
So thanks again.
Excellent, that sounds great. Thank you very much for all that detail. Lots of good learning going to be taking place soon for everyone. Okay, so next on our agenda is the educational blueprint.
A second to bring that up. And so in June, I presented a revised educational blueprint to the committee. We talked about some of the changes, and at that time we were really focusing on the core values and really the 4 key objectives of support safe schools, enhance teaching and learning, engage the community, and collaborating with leadership in policy and funding. And the change really became at that time, just a reminder, is we reordered it, putting support safe schools first, because that wasn't first on the list, then enhance teaching and learning, then engage the community. And then we reworded this whole concept around collaborating with leadership in terms of policy and funding, this idea that we're going to make sure that we work effectively with the town and state agencies to maintain sustainable funding for the school district. So the next step in this process is the strategies are generally aligned with the school improvement plans. So as part of our ALT meetings over the summer with the administrative team, they made some revisions to the strategies that align directly to their school improvement plans. So I'm going to highlight some of those. And then what will happen is we're going to actually reprint this whole document, and we'll give it to every teacher. We'll put it out on the webpage. We'll communicate it to the community, because this is really our one-page vision of what we want to see happen in the Carver Public Schools. Every teacher will get a laminated copy to post in their room. But I want to highlight some of the changes in terms of the strategy. So some strategies came off because we felt like, hey, this is a piece of the school improvement plan that's been completed and it's come off the school improvement plans, and then there's some things that are new. So I'm not going to read every single bullet, but I'll highlight some of them. So under support safe schools, about halfway down, really, the last four. Further development, student leadership opportunities, district and school-wide. So we're going to focus on, I think that's been, we're going to see in my next presentation, the district review, that DESE actually highlighted that as a strength of the district, the number of leadership opportunities that we provide for students, district-wide. But that's something we want to continue to do and offer more opportunities. Certainly even with at the school committee level, we've talked about student advisory for the school committee, and I think that's something we want to try to improve and strengthen. So we want to keep that work going. I know this is an issue that's been talked about a decent amount. Continue to support students transitioning between schools. That promotes student success through their experience in the Carver Public Schools. That whole concept, especially that 5th, 6th grade transition, and keep trying to work on that. I do think over the last year or two that we've made some improvements there. We did a training or an orientation for parents. We're doing that again this year. I think that's coming up on Thursday. So we want to keep working to make sure that that's a positive and a smooth transition, and that the transition makes sense both for students and for families from 5th to 6th grade. And so we want to continue that work. Explore new strategies to enhance the use of restorative justice practices and positive behavioral interventions and supports for students. Making that transition to restorative justice. They're actually going to see that highlighted in the district review as well. So when we talk about the district review, we're going to see things that are either recommendations or strengths that are still highlighted in our educational blueprint and school improvement plans, as they should be. It makes sense that these things align. And the last one, develop and implement a formal tiered system of interventions to support classroom instruction, and to more formally define processes to identify and refer students who need additional assistance and support. So we want to make sure we have systems in place that we're identifying students who are struggling and providing students who are struggling with the supports that they need. And that's something that we need to do a better job of. So we've put that as a strategy of something we're going to work on district-wide. Under enhanced teaching and learning, I'm going to highlight 3 areas. The second bullet, ensure all students receive, and I'll move it on the screen a little bit. Ensure all students receive consistent, systemic, specific, and timely corrective feedback, and are afforded opportunities and time necessary to revise and improve their work. So we want to put a focus on both buildings, actually, about the type of feedback that we're providing to students. There needs to be timely, it needs to be effective, it needs to have some real meat to it too. You're going to say, hey, this is an area where you can improve, and I'm going to give you some opportunities to improve. And we feel like that's something we have to do a better job of, so we've identified that as a goal. Utilize student-centered instruction, 5th bullet down, I think, to increase student engagement and promote deeper learning. That's all the work. That is a one sentence statement of the work we're going to try to do with Scott McLeod in terms of engaging in deeper learning, and making sure that students are involved in real world problems and rigorous problems. 2 bullets down from there, encourage collaboration by teachers to analyze student data to improve curriculum assessment and instruction. Going on to engage the community. The thing that's really new here, it's not that new, is the second bullet. It's kind of we actually kind of work two bullets together. Promote and celebrate the work of students and faculty of the Carver Public Schools through annualized events, and that promotes school pride. So the whole idea of we have to continue to make sure we're communicating with the community all the great things that are happening, whether that's through the principals' newsletters, through recognitions at school committee meetings, through events at the schools. So we want to keep doing more of that. And then in terms of collaborate with leadership in policy and funding. Second bullet, develop and expand student opportunities through the flexible use of resources and strategic data analysis. and then continuing the partnership with community leaders on supporting education in Carver. Obviously, that's always a huge goal. We want to make sure we're working effectively with all the boards here in Carver, the select board, the town administrator, the finance committee, to ensure that we're doing all we can, the capital outlay committee, that we're partnering with all these groups to make sure we're supporting education in Carver. So those are kind of the areas of the blueprint that are a little different in terms of the strategies from compared to the previous document. Not necessarily looking for a vote to approve this. I didn't put that as a recommendation, but that's really, I guess, a decision of the committee. You could decide to vote to approve and support the educational blueprint. Probably not a bad thing to do. So at this time, I guess I would take any questions. So this document, since last year, has actually gone under a decent amount of revision, and we went through a very formalized process to do that. I guess I would recommend that we maybe take a vote to approve the educational blueprint or support the educational blueprint.
Sounds like a good plan. Does anyone?
And I'll take any questions. Yeah, any questions, Bill?
I have one question. On the first section, support safe schools, 1, 2, 3, 4 down.
Yep.
It just like shouts at me when you're saying topics of AI, drug awareness, social media, bullying, and inclusion.
Yep.
The mental health piece, just having, because you're giving resources and you do provide resources about mental health, and I feel like that should be in that little thing. I don't know. It's just a suggestion, but I know this has already been written, but.
Yeah, but
It's
that's,
just- it's literally
it's
like
here
coming
for
out
you
on
to
me.
give feedback on.
Yeah,
So that's
for that
certainly
one
an
piece.
easy piece. And that actually is not a new objective. That's been there.
Right.
But certainly, so I'm comfortable with adding that
Yeah.
and making that revision. Gina, we haven't sent these to the printer yet, have we?
we have not.
Excellent. Perfect. I think that's a great suggestion. Important to have it broken out. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to
Sure.
approve?
I move that we approve the educational blueprint as presented tonight with the change that Jackie suggested.
A second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that was involved in updating that.
That's great.
And aligning it with what we want to achieve. So, thank you.
Yep.
All good things. Okay, so that brings us to the district review.
I've clicked all the buttons I need to click, I think already. Yeah, so obviously the committee's fully aware, the community is aware that last year we went through a formalized process through DESE called the district review. The first couple of slides I'm going to show you are actually from the DESE template that just kind of gives an overview of what the district review is and what its purpose was. So the Office of District Reviews and Monitoring examines district systems, policies, and practices through written reports. These reports provide information and recommendations that promote systemic improvements and advance equitable student outcomes and experiences. That's directly from DESE's website of what the purpose of a district review is. There are two types of district reviews. There's a targeted review and a comprehensive review. Target reviews will collect multiple sources of information to provide a valid and reliable assessment of the district's status on 3 of the standards. Or the comprehensive review, they can do all 6. So we had a targeted review, if you remember, and they focused on the student-centered standards. So there's 6 standards: leadership and governance, human resource and professional development, financial and asset management. I'm sure Ron would have loved to go through the district review, but he was probably happy that we ended up with a student-centered review and not a full review, so we didn't have to do financial and asset management. So our review is focused on the areas of curriculum, instruction, assessment, and student support. Again, this is a kind of review of what happened last year. There's a whole preparation period where they do some trainings for staff. We have to provide all kinds of documents. District submissions, extract data from our student information system, and they actually do questionnaires of district liaisons and school leaders. So all that happens prior to the review. And I will say the process was, they asked me for, so I had a meeting just last week to give them some feedback on the process, because they use this outside consultant, I remember it was called AIR, and they actually lead the reviews. So they just wanted some feedback on the process. And I said there was actually it was a much better process than it was at our last review in 2015, 10 years earlier. The document submission process was a lot easier. Technology certainly helped with that. Technology is a lot different now than it was 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, it was still paper binder. So we had file folders and papers and a lot of copying, and we had to provide them with everything. Where this time, because of so much information being on the student information systems, they extracted a lot of data, because we're giving them data all the time anyhow.
Right.
So they just had to pull that data. We didn't have to collate it. And so from the data submission process, it was not less data, but it was just easier, much more manageable from the district's perspective. And then the on-site visit went really well. They were supportive. I said to them as part of the review process, I said, all the members of the staff who came to do the review from DESE, they were really, from my perspective, we had conversations with them. We had dialogue with them. It did not at any time feel like it was an interrogation, or it just felt like we were having a good conversation about education and what that looks like in the Carver Public Schools. And I know the school committee, you all had an opportunity to meet with a couple of the representatives. There was a parent forum where parents had an opportunity to meet with members of the committee. So they take all this data in, all this data that we either gave them or they collected. Being here in the district for 3 days and interviewing staff and visiting classrooms and interviewing parents and school committee members, they take all this data together and they generate a report with recommendations and with findings. And in your background, I gave you the full report, so you can read all 98 pages if you choose to. But I'm going to do a high-level summary of what they identified as strengths and recommendations in each of the 3 areas this evening. So for curriculum instruction, they identified 4 key strengths. There's actually a couple more than that, but I'm going to highlight these 4. The district's educational blueprint priorities are collaboratively determined, including parent and student input. Because obviously we talked about the process that I went through last year in terms of revising the document we just looked at. So that was identified as a strength. The district has a comprehensive curriculum review process, which includes reviewing resources, gathering teacher input, piloting materials, and conducting site visits. So the interesting part of that is they're going to say, as a recommendation, that we need a better cycle. And when we talked about this a little bit last year, that historically the district hasn't had, the cycle has been a little bit catch as catch can from a financial perspective, because we haven't had the resources to always have the money behind doing it. And not that we haven't updated our curriculum, because they give that as a strength, right? So it's easy to say, hey, there's a strength here, you guys do this. We have a curriculum review process, we look at resources, we get input, we pilot, we go visit other schools that are implementing curriculums and materials, but we just don't have a cycle to make sure that it's happening every, so many years in every department. Mm-hmm. So one of the recommendations is going to be to develop that cycle, which we put in place and started to talk about last year. I think this is, I just believe this in my heart that this is true, and I was very happy that the report came out with this. Middle and high school students have access to many diverse and rigorous learning opportunities. So what we've done with Pathways, they certainly recognized that, highlighted that, and said, look, for a small high school, the range of programs that you offer is really tremendous. So I was happy that that's highlighted as a strength in the report. And then middle and high school students participate in long-term performance assessments that culminate in public presentations to demonstrate learning. So again, that's very, not that that's all about Pathways, certainly that happens outside of Pathways a little bit too, but I think Pathways has definitely spurred that idea of long-term performance assessments, real-world activities that culminate in some sort of public presentation of, hey, this is what we do, this is what we create. And so they identified that as a strength in terms of curriculum instruction. Key recommendations. Number 1, we just talked about. The district should develop a consistent cycle for curriculum revision, which we agree with, and that's something we do want to implement. Second, the district should examine student needs in the middle and high school. select tier 2 and 3 interventions across each subject, and implement them with students who need additional support accessing the curriculum. So they're saying we need to build a little stronger process at the middle high school level specifically. They found there's a strength at the elementary school, and they're looking for this to improve that to middle high school in terms of identifying the students who are struggling and giving them some additional supports. I will say that the selection and development of tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, and this is not an excuse. I think there's a right piece of it across districts. It definitely happens the most at the elementary school, then a little bit less at the middle school, and then a little bit less at the high school. Because you get into the high school structure sometimes in scheduling piece, and having 6 different courses or 7 different courses makes it difficult to build in that like remediation time where you might be giving a student at the elementary school a reading class or a little additional math support. It's hard to, structurally it's just hard to do that at the high school level. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be held to that standard. Third one, the district should support educators in providing students with meaningful feedback on assignments. I do think this is a key recommendation. We talked about this just with the education blueprint. We actually put that in as a little bit of strategy of, hey, we're giving students these great learning opportunities. Now we have to provide them with more meaningful feedback and more in time feedback that gives them the opportunity to change and correct their work. And I think that's really important. And we were actually happy as a district that this was highlighted as a recommendation. So that's not surprising to us. It's something that we're interested in at both the elementary and middle high school level. And we're glad to see this recommendation, and we'll be happy to share it with staff and talk about it a little bit and say, what does that look like? Assessment, strengths. The district gathers multiple types of academic data about all students at all levels to inform instruction. Elementary teachers use bonus blocks to review and discuss student data. So they were overall impressed with that bonus block structure of we have that half hour every day where we rotate the grade levels through. So every grade level meets once every 7 days and has the opportunity to have a half hour of focused discussion about student data. And the district has a strong commitment to data privacy, demonstrated through the implementation of multiple strategies. That's kudos to our technology team, to Ron, so that they actually highlighted that as an area of strength in terms of our data. Key recommendations, assessments where we have the most recommendations. The district should expand its data collection to include social, emotional, and behavioral data. So at the elementary school, we used to have a social emotional screener. It was called the DESA. The last couple of years we have not done that, so there's a recommendation here that we start to look at maybe doing a screener for social emotional issues or concerns and looking at some of that data. So we'll be looking at district-wide. John's actually going to take that on, kind of look at some different options out there for us district-wide for us to look at and bring back. The district should develop a culture of data use at its middle high school by collaborating with teachers to identify and leverage high quality data. This is a lot of words. I read this one, I'm like, there's a lot of words in this one. Leverage high quality data sources that provide authentic insight into students' understanding and progress. So when I look at all those words, I say, ultimately what are we supposed to be doing? Is at the middle high school level, maybe we need to put more emphasis on some of the data that we do have. Like the MAP assessment, the NWEA, looking at our SAT scores, AP scores, like really breaking that data down and saying how can we use that data to improve our instruction and improve student outcomes. The district should set expectations around timely inputting of grades in the Aspen system, particularly at the high school level, to increase its usefulness for students and allow families to monitor progress throughout the semester. This is certainly something we've been talking about with middle high school teachers, and I think it's a key and legitimate recommendation. Just 2 more on assessment. The district should work with elementary teachers to expand the breadth and depth of academic data shared with families, including regular student progress updates and work samples. I will say, of all the recommendations, this is the one that I struggled with the most, because I do actually feel like we do this pretty well. We had an opportunity to review the report and give feedback on it, but the feedback was really factual. We got to look at, did they call something the wrong name or something like that. We couldn't really challenge any of their assertions. or recommendations. And as my follow-up meeting I had last week with them, I said, and they're thinking of doing this. They said they're going to do this starting next year. They didn't do it this year, but starting next year, they're going to have, instead of sending, it was literally an email, said, read the report. If there's factual mistakes, send them to us, right? Now they're saying they're going to have a meeting with the district administrators to say, hey, if you feel like there's something that's a little off as a recommendation or a strength, say, I don't know where you got that strength from. That, well, obviously, you're probably less likely to say that, but if you have a concern about something, then at least get some feedback from them to triangulate the data, like make sure they heard that from more than one source. And that's their goal. So they'll say in the report that, it's in there because they found there were 3 places where that would support that. So I'm not saying it's not a valid recommendation. Of the recommendation is the one that I feel like I have the most questions about. Last one, the district should engage middle and high school teachers in establishing clear expectations and guidance around grade weighting and assessment practices to reduce variability across classroom and hold consistent expectations for student performance. And that's something we have been talking about with middle high school teachers. Student support, strengths. The district implements effective attendance strategies. So they recognize all the work that we've done over the last couple of years in terms of trying to improve attendance, which really has been a focus area. My big picture reflection on the whole report was I really felt like it identified areas of strengths that, happy is maybe the wrong term. But I'm trying to think of the right term. It identified areas of strength that I think were supportive of the work that we did. So I was happy to see that because it was supportive of the work we feel like we've been doing. And the recommendations, most of the recommendations are recommendations that I see and say, yeah, I can see that, and that's something we have to work on. So I felt like, personally, and the administrative team as a whole felt as if, this was a really valid process that was validated both our strengths and our recommendations. Student leadership opportunities are accessible and meaningful, especially at the upper grade levels. The school committee revised district policies regarding sports participation to expand students' access to athletics and encourage physical health and well-being. The school committee gets a shout out in the report. School staff provide clear and proactive communication celebrating students' progress and accomplishments. The district has strong community partnerships to support families. Carver Elementary provides structured support for students with academic needs. And then 2 key recommendations in this area. The district should reconsider its approach to discipline and prioritize implementing exclusionary and culturally responsive methods for managing student behavior. So that was in our updated educational blueprint a little bit in terms of restorative justice. So that's the tie to restorative justice. And the district should further investigate the root causes of family challenges with receiving messages through the School Connect system and to devise solutions that streamlines the process of signing up for messages and updating contact information. So clearly that's something that they've heard from parents. And I think they heard that from some teachers as well. So I think they heard that from some parents. I think they heard that from some teachers. So that's something Gina and I will actually look at in terms of how we can do that better.
Yeah, I don't concur with that at all.
No,
That hasn't been my experience, but.
not mine either, no.
I think the process not that the process is hard for updating Aspen, I think we need to do a better job of ensuring that all families do it.
I think you
Right.
did a good job last year having
Yeah.
people do with, for different languages, come and then one-on-one, working with them, and that was fantastic. Doing that again,
Yep.
it was worthwhile.
Because the reality is that it's a constant chase to get parents to update their information in Aspen. And the reality is the information in School Connect
Yeah.
is the information from Aspen. That's what gets transferred over.
Yeah.
So if the data is wrong, if your phone number is wrong, your email is wrong in Aspen, it's wrong in school status.
Yep.
And the only way to fix that is to have your information be correct in Aspen. And so I don't know, maybe we can do better communication around that or a better drive to get people in Aspen to update their information. The other concern that people have with school status that they bring to us is it's that fine balance of they feel like there's too much. It's always something.
Never be too much.
And they feel like sometimes they lose things because there'll be a message from the teacher, but there'll be 5 messages from, 2 from the school, 2 from the district, 1 from the teacher, and they lose the 1 from the teacher. And we've talked about that a little bit, of how to manage that, and how we can, what we can do to have that work better for parents. And a couple of parents have said to us on the athletic side, they said, well, we don't get the school connect messages in athletics. Like, well, like, why? Like, well, we shut off our notifications because we get too many. Like, people want to just, on some ways, like, well, you're not going to have messages because you shut off your communication. You shut off your notices. But I get it. I do get it. Is like, I just want to get the stuff for the team. Or I just want to get the stuff from my teacher. And obviously that can't be our perspective as a district. We want to communicate everything that's happening with everybody. But I also on some level understand that of, I'm a first grade, my kid's in first grade, my first kid. I'm not that invested in what happened at the high school or district announcement that happens. I'm saying I can see that perspective. And
Really, I don't know, as an elementary school, you didn't get middle school, high school notifications in school status.
you would only get district ones, you wouldn't get middle high school ones.
I will say this, from experience, doing what I do, Aspen is not the most intuitive or user-friendly interface. What I would suggest, because I know that we do in-person like trainings with people, short videos on how to do specific things. Download a report card.
100%.
Go in and update your emergency information. Like today, again,
Gina loves making those videos.
I'm an IT person, and I had struggled finding Addie's schedule today. Like, why is it under family? You would think it would be under academics.
Or on the schedule, right? On the academic schedule, right?
It's weird. So I think just some very specific, short, 5 to 10 minute videos. Not even. Downloading a report card is super easy, but everybody struggles with it every single year. So just like snippets of specific things that they need to do in the system, a video, let them watch it, super easy.
So obviously we've talked about this. I feel like something that has improved in the last 3 or 4 years is the communication coming from the district and from schools, right? But certainly when I understand why this recommendation is here, because over the past year or two, I've heard some of these concerns. I just outlined some of the concerns that come to us. So we have to think about how we can do a better job of that.
Absolutely.
Gina, you can speak. Gina,
Can I speak from
you
the-
certainly can speak.
You want me to go over here?
No, you can. You're the recording secretary. You're at the
Like,
table. You can
traditionally, I
speak.
wouldn't speak if it wasn't in regards to communications or marketing. But putting on a different hat, there definitely, like Mr. Neef said, that idea though, that there is a lot. And switching to school status was something that we wanted to do. The elementary kind of started with it, and then we took it district-wide as a solution, that it's a one-stop shop for our parent guardians in regards to communications from teams to your teacher and so forth. But there is a lot of information there. So we are looking at some different strategies this year, working within the constraints of school status to figure out how we can streamline that a little bit. That, so there's a couple different ideas that maybe we just have just a school tab and it doesn't waterfall into classrooms and so forth. So we're looking at some options to figure out how we can work within those constraints to make it easier for families. And we're definitely going to send out a reminder at the beginning of the school year on how to get onto school status, how to log on, how to see some things. There's some different features they've already done to make it a little simpler for parents to see different things and only what they want to see. So we're hopeful that it'll be a better year this year. And we definitely, I would say always, like Mr. Neef said, appreciate the constructive feedback. Because even though we might say, I feel like that there's not a lot of challenges, but clearly there are, and we want to make sure that it's accessible for all families. So we'll take it all in and adjust as we can.
Kelly, I think your recommendation in terms of doing the short videos for Aspen, especially on that piece of updating your information on a yearly basis, that maybe if someone got a podcast, or a 1 minute video, I'd like the podcast, or a 1 minute video on how to get into Aspen and where to go to update that registration information would help us on that end of making sure the information's correct.
I've already done mine. Yep. It's just funny because one of the things that we have to do for cheer is we are required to submit report cards for every kid that has a report card. And I cannot tell you how many times I literally tell people and show them exactly how to go in and get a report card. So much so that I did a video on it on my own to give to our parents to do it. And I was like, well, if we have almost 100 families. If 90% of those families are struggling with this, it's obviously something that's not very intuitive. And so just snip it once. They're super easy to do, and it will be, I think, hugely helpful for parents. On the Aspen side, I don't know about the school status side because honestly, I haven't had any trouble with it, and I like it. So,
Yeah, I think it's great.
Well, we have a lot of time on school status.
Yes. One thing I just want to mention, if I can, really quickly, are the virtual backpacks that I noticed that are on the website that also have a lot of great information.
So Gina, I don't know if you want to talk about virtual backpacks since
I
you're
spent
on.
an absurd amount of time on our website, and I did notice that there are links in there with more information about School Status Connect and Aspen. So I just wanted to say that I thought that was wonderful. Even though, I have one student who's graduated, one who's a sophomore, I still found that there was some good information there. So I wasn't sure if that was going to be highlighted or shared with the community at some point. I got really excited about it, so great job.
Thank you for saying that. I'll take 2 seconds on the virtual backpacks. The virtual backpacks were actually born out of your principals and their secretaries at each school who wanted to have an area that they could refer parents and guardians to and students to say, this is where all this information will live. So really kind of like literally a virtual backpack or a file cabinet where they can go and access all the things they need to find in one spot. And that'll be continually updated throughout the year also. But for the most part, rather than having one giant one for the whole district, it's school specific, and that way parents can find that information easily.
So nice.
Thank you.
They're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, what did I just do? So what are we going to do? What's the next steps with the report? So we are going to send the district review report home to families and to staff, and we'll post it on the website. So probably a week or two into school. I'm not going to send it the first couple days because, again, that kind of, I'm thinking about that concept of overwhelming of information is because we've also said on a regular basis within the first couple of weeks, I'm going to send home the bullying prevention intervention plan. They're going to send home the wellness plan. They're going to send home the district review. So in those first couple of weeks, there's going to be some emails and letters coming from me on these topics. But the district review will be one of them. We're certainly going to review the recommendations with the curriculum leadership teams at both building and department chairs and curriculum leadership teams at the elementary school. There'll be a faculty presentation, discussion with teachers and staff on the recommendations. And then we're going to look to incorporate the recommendations into school improvement plans next year if they're not already present. But several of the recommendations are already aligned and tied to some of the things in the school improvement plans and the educational blueprint. So overall, as I said, I do actually feel very comfortable with the overall report. There's a lot of positives in there. And as I said, I think it recognizes the great work that's been happening in the district in many areas. And then also, I think, the majority of the recommendations are legitimate and things that we need to work on. I don't know, any other thoughts on the district review?
I concur. I think there are a few things that I would love to, from just my perspective, to have gotten some more information from. What were their sources? Like you had mentioned, I'm glad to hear that they're going to be opening that up in the next part of this process so the districts can have that dialogue. But I appreciate you sharing it with all of us, and it's great that it ties back and looks good. So thank you very much for that. That moves us to something which I think is very exciting. I'm sure Kelly and Katie would agree from their student days.
oh yes.
The cafeteria renovations update.
If it was good enough for us 30 years ago.
You're 30?
Like 31.
For me? Oh, God.
Oh, for me.
I'm much higher than that.
I was gonna say.
I will say it's nice that I get to do a presentation of something that's interesting and not just
Yeah.
spreadsheets. So I feel I feel happy to be able to do that.
Those spreadsheets. Don't
I
sell
do.
yourself
I
short.
do not. sell
Kindred
yourself
spirits on a
short.
spreadsheet. But this is a fun project, and so I thought I'd take a few minutes just to share a little bit with you, kind of give you a preview of things to come. So as I'm sure you've seen over the past couple of years, we've been trying to do some modernization projects on like the furniture, fixtures, and equipment over at the middle high school, right? We call it FF&E for short, with the goal of saying like, look, this building has many years left in it. I know there's lots of talk about what will the future be in a decade or more. But Mr. Neef always says this, and it resonates loudly with me. Whether it's a decade or more, your kindergartners are going to graduate from that building, and so it's about finding ways to maintain the facility and modernize the interior, right? The experiential components of that building. And so this is just one element of that work. It's over in the cafeteria. As Katie mentioned, the furniture in the cafeteria is relatively dated. It's, for the most part, original from construction of the building in the late 80s. So to give you a sense of what this project looks like, Carver received some federal funding, and what we've done is we've taken some of that federal funding and said, look, let's focus that on how we can update some of that student-facing experiential equipment, right? We have done over the past couple of years, replaced some of the cooking equipment to modernize the kitchen, which I know they don't see, but hopefully they taste and enjoy every day at breakfast and lunch. But this project will be focused on really just taking a fresh look at what the cafeteria furniture looks like for kiddos. Those three things that you see highlighted, I think, are the theme of our vision, right? That the new furniture is flexible, this multi-use, and really that it's this Crusader Pride brand, that you'll see Carver Crusader colors and the Carver Crusader logo as you walk into the cafeteria. In terms of our process, it started with our food service team along with Principal Cabral, and then expanded to adding student voice, and we also brought our professional design team in, and also even consulted with our custodial staff, because that's a high traffic space, not just during the school day, but after school for events and activities and those sorts of things. So it was a very iterative process, and throughout those iterations sort of made tweaks and adjustments and slight changes either in the fabric or the layout or the type of equipment to try to meet the needs of all the different stakeholders who use that space every day. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough of it. What you see there on the right is sort of the high-level visual of the cafeteria itself. Again, as we thought about what the vision for this should be, we really focused on the conversation around this being a central hub of the building. You think about in your house, more often than not, when you have people over, people end up in the kitchen because people like to congregate around food. And I think that's true in schools as well. The cafeteria becomes this central hub. And so as the team had these conversations about what it should look like and what the vision should be, they really focused on, again, making that space flexible, thinking about what kinds of spaces students will see after high school as well. So to move away from maybe a more traditional rows of tables that traditional cafeterias have, and think about what a college campus might look like or what a cafe might look like in a community anywhere, right? The next slide just sort of gives you a view down into the space a little bit, so you can kind of dive in, and each slide will get you a little closer to it. Couple things that we sort of thought through when you see the space. You can think a little bit about how the brand of Carver Crusaders is shown, and kudos to Gina Marie for her work to make sure that it was the right color scheme that matches all of our other branded materials. Everything from some branding on the walls that they'll add as like vinyl clings, which are nice, to branding right on some of the furniture itself. A couple examples you have here, standard hexagonal tables. These were selected with the idea that sometimes this space is a study space and you want to put a couple of these together to bring a small group or have a small meeting, or just have a group of kiddos have a conversation about a project that they're doing, right? Another selection that you'll see there on some of the edges are these high tops. The thinking around this is twofold. One, it's actually something that we already have in the building when we modernized some of the central common spaces, and it's been really popular. A lot of students eat there every day. And it's also something that you see a lot more on your college campus. You'll see a lot more in, a cafe kind of a setting, right? There's also a couple of different versions of booths that'll be added. Here you see the half-round booths. Again, you'll hear the same themes, right? Focus in on really giving that Crusader pride, as well as having flexibility. You can put two booths together if you want to, congregate, fewer or more seats around it. It allows you some options in terms of how you want to reorient them if you want to move them around. The other option of booth looks probably more like a restaurant booth that you'd see on casters again. So if it needs to be moved to, put a few together to have a study group or have a small meeting, those are all options. This was one in particular. We went through a bunch of iterations on the material that's to be used. A lot of input from our operations team to make sure that it's material that is easily, cleanable, easily maintainable. And of course, it's a cafeteria, so you do still have cafeteria tables. But even with those, again, big focus on showing that Crusader pride, making sure that it's the branded colors for Crusaders. What you've got here is just a couple of pictures of 3D renderings. Thank you, AI, right? So we expect to have the equipment delivered sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas with installation. We'll have professional installation done probably after Christmas going into the new year. They'll have the clings coming in the next week or two, so we'll at least get that in some stages. But everything has been manufactured specifically to the specifications that the team put out, built specific for Carver's needs. So we're really excited about it. It's been a project that's been sort of in conversation for, the better part of a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And we're excited to pull the trigger on it. I think I talked about timing as well. If you have any questions, I'll field any questions that you might have. And we're excited to hopefully host you, maybe not this Thanksgiving. I know we do our Thanksgiving dinner over in the cafeteria, but hopefully in our future Thanksgiving dinner and future events, you'll get to see some really cool new furniture over in the cafeteria.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And I know that the tall students are going to greatly appreciate those high top tables.
The seniors usually like those a lot,
Right?
yeah. Seniors basketball team, yeah.
Ron, where does the funding come from?
It comes directly from the feds. So actually most of your food services funding is a federal grant money. And what ends up happening is Massachusetts, well, this is maybe more I want to know, but so every school community sets data out every month about how many kiddos are eating food. Some of that is reimbursable at the state level, some of it's reimbursable at the federal level. The large lion's share is reimbursable at the federal level.
Is that the Department of Education?
USDA. So it comes through USDA, filters down to the state, we get an appropriation of that. And that pays for a large majority of the operation of your food service in general.
Do we already have the money?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually been something been.
Lock that up somewhere.
Right?
Sorry, I should have jumped at that already. Money's in the bank, yes.
Okay.
It's a revolving account system, so we actually can hold money aside. And so the past couple of years, we've been doing just that. Sort of putting some money aside so that this didn't have to be a capital request, this didn't have to get bonded. It's money we've sort of built up here for this kind of a project, yeah.
Great. Thank
Because
you.
all that money has to go back to food service.
It can only be spent on food service. Correct, I should have started with that as well.
That's okay.
It's earmarked to only food services, not to go into too much more detail with it, but it can only be for food services and for certain things in food services as well. So because it comes from the federal government, there are lots of strings attached.
Sure.
And so put a lot of energy to make sure that this is an appropriate project for the funding mechanism. Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh my gosh, I can't stop smiling.
Yeah, it should be cool.
It's
gonna be a nice one.
amazing. I mean,
It,
go with
it used to have booths. We used to have booths when we were in high school.
Yeah. The very first couple of years, I
Yeah.
think.
I feel like when I graduated, they were still there.
I don't know, that was 36 years ago for me. Just gotta say that.
Not that anyone's counting.
36.
And it was
It's
nice.
backwards
the booths,
math, so
the
it doesn't
booths were a
count.
nice option.
Right? Yeah. I just want to say thank you to everyone that had input into this project. And Gina, just thank you so much. Just thank you so much. I actually had a couple of parents from other districts approach me over the summer about our food services program. They're not happy with the food service in their district, which I will not name. But we're one of the districts that they've been following. So, and seeing some of the awards and recognitions that we've received. So, once word gets out about this, and once this project is completed, I'm just saying it'll be even more. But I just really want to say thank you. We have an excellent food services department, and thank you for all your contributions, Ron. And like I said, everyone that participated. This is So exciting.
I will just say, Teresa Vernazaro, our food service director, she deserves the lion's share of the credit. She's incredible, innovative. I know sometimes people think about school lunch and you think it's just, pizza day and burgers, but she's always looking for ways to do farm to table, to think about the ingredients we use for kiddos, to make sure that it's not just nutritious, but also delicious, and to think about how food service can be more than just lunch and breakfast. And so this is a lot of her vision and Ms. Cabral's vision. And so, thank you very much for that. Kudos. I'll pass it along to the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is very exciting. Yay. Thank you for that presentation. Okay, so that brings us to upcoming events. Are we ready? Are we
No.
ready?
No.
Yeah, I'll be quick here, but, just
There's a
I'll
lot.
show the screen. There's a
There's a
lot,
lot
obviously a lot of things are coming because we're excited about
Yeah.
the start of the school year. Arcade did come quickly. It is early this year because Labor Day is September 1st, so it's the earliest start that we can have.
Yeah.
And it really started today.
Yep.
So football started on Friday. All of the fall sports started today. I was out there actually with the teams. All the teams practiced today. Saw most of them out there at some point or another. And we're right behind them with a school committee meeting right afterwards. So we're looking forward to a lot of great events. I do want to highlight for the seniors, we do that college application boot camp. That's on Wednesday, 8:30. That's actually a great program for our students. It really takes them through the Common App process. So the counselors do a great job in 3 hours introducing our seniors to the Common App, getting the basic information they need to have in there, really getting them prepared and on the right foot to be ready to do their college applications, because the reality is in the last 10 years, that process has definitely changed in terms of timeline. There's a lot of places where your applications are due by November 15th, December 1st, even for sometimes regular admissions January 1st. They gotta get going on that right away in September, and the college boot camp kicks them off well for that. So if you're a senior and you didn't sign up to go to the college boot camp, that opportunity is still there for you coming up this Wednesday. Thursday, we have the 6th grade orientation, parent information, and new middle school student orientation. And we also have 9th grade orientation Thursday, so the middle high school staff is really focused on providing orientations for our 6th graders and our 9th graders. The 9th grade orientation was, I can't remember if it was new last year or 2 years ago. I think sometimes we'd actually fallen into a little bit of a rut of, hey, we're a 6 through 12 school, the students are there. There are differences between 8th and 9th grade, but it's really not that different. I think it is important to highlight the difference between being a middle schooler and a high schooler, even though it's the same building, maybe some of the same teachers, and going from 8th to 9th grade. And last year, we had a great turnout. We had a lot of students come for the 9th grade orientation. So that's this Thursday morning coming up. And of course, welcome back for staff. We already went over the 25th and the 26th, what's going to be happening on those days. And then on the 27th, the students will be here. We'll be excited about kicking off a new school year. I'll just quickly look at what's here for September. There's a lot of things. We'll put it on the screen for a second, give people the opportunity to take a look at it. As always, as I always say during this part of the presentation, all these events are on the school calendar. They're on the website. If you ever want to know what's going on in the district, please go to the website and check out the calendar where all these upcoming events are highlighted. All right, so unless there's other questions, ready to move on to recommendations,
Absolutely.
which is going to go back to Ron. So Ron has budget transfers, financial update, and we actually also have some grants we want to approve. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So there's a few votes here.
So it's been a while since we last chatted about, the financial landscape at the feds and at the state level. So we've had a pretty busy summer with education finance, if you've seen some of the headlines in the news. I won't relive it all for you, but just a couple of bullet points. We'll start at Washington. As I'm sure you saw, we had this tumultuous, sort of back and forth for about a month. The Trump administration had put a pause on the better part of $7 billion in education-related funding as it underwent a review. That sort of jams up the cycle, right? The federal law sort of sets that on July 1st. That way states can sort of figure out how much money they've got from the feds coming in when they go to build their state budget. long story short, the Massachusetts freeze jammed up about $100 million in predominantly summer programming. None of that impacted Carver, so we felt like we were held harmless in all of that, which was good. End of July, Trump administration then came back and said, hey, look, we're all set. You have the PBS reporting, I thought did a nice job at it. Ultimately, they released all of the federal funding that was being held for review, and federal funding was set at level funding. So we typically, I'll show you the funds in just a second. We typically get a little bit of an increase each year, but if you remember our conversation back in the winter, we anticipated that there'd be some concerns or some, issues with the federal funding, and so we built level funding into our budget. And so when that came out, we were sort of ahead of the game on that, which I thought was helpful and prudent by the committee, prudent decisions by the committee. If you look at Beacon Hill, so Beacon Hill was caught in the middle of this quite a bit. A couple of things, so short-term and long-term to talk about. In the short term, when that federal funding freeze came out for the federal education grants, the Healy administration simply scaled back their budget by roughly the same amount, right? So the governor's budget was adjusted accordingly, which again, prudent to do. And then in a larger scale, Beacon Hill in general really put in a pretty large cushion to this year's budget. That happens year to year anyway. It's a few $100 million. I know sounds like a lot, but in the scale of a state budget, that's not a big dollar amount, right? But this cycle, they put about $800 million in for a cushion. That's the better part of 4 times what they typically do, 4 to 5 times they typically do. Again, because as they were building this budget, they weren't really sure about the numbers that were going to be coming out from the Fed. So that was sort of the rationale there, for good or for bad. And I've got a couple of links there from some MMA materials if you want to read more deeply into the analysis of that, or how Beacon Hill was thinking in terms of their development there. Regardless, happy to report the state put through a budget roughly on time, which is really good. I've got a couple of bullets there for you, and again, if you want to click the link later and do that deep dive, you certainly can. The ones that I think are most relevant to Carver schools, first and foremost, is minimum aid. I know we've talked a lot about that. Carver Public Schools, like the better part of 3/4 of the other districts in the state, only receive minimum aid when it comes to Chapter 70. So that SOA, Student Opportunity Act money, we don't get a lot of that ultimately. That number, as a side note, the number of districts that are only getting minimum aid, as a side note, was at about 60% 2 years ago, and it started to increase over the past, whatever it's been, 24 months or so. So we're excited about the increase in minimum aid. That's a home run for Carver. Charter school reimbursement, also fully funded, which we think helps for any time you lose students to charter schools. This is probably the biggest one, that third bullet for me, special education circuit breaker. That's, again, a quick reminder about that. Every community has a certain initial obligation they have for their kiddos that cost a lot of money in special education. The better part of $50,000 per kiddo is covered by the local community. And then the state sets aside this circuit breaker to help offset a portion of every dollar thereafter. That portion had been fluctuating years ago, but since SOA has really gotten up to that statutory 75%, which is huge. As you've seen over the past couple of years, Carver's no different than a lot of other schools around us. We've seen an increase in the kiddos who have really severe special education needs, and that obviously has a substantial cost to it. So to see that circuit breaker be essentially fully funded up to the statutory limit is helpful for Carver, helpful for a lot of school districts in the state. Universal school meals remains a priority for the state. We're excited about that. There's been a lot of advocacy around that over the past few years. And one that's maybe not as sexy, but I think also really important, is that the legislature has agreed to charge DESE with setting up a local contribution study for Chapter 70. Essentially just a group to come together and take a hard look at what the formula looks like. In particular, while it's not stated there, in particular what minimum aid looks like, right? Yeah. More and more school districts are falling into minimum aid. That becomes challenging when your costs increase faster than what minimum aid is increasing, right? So we'll look forward to seeing that in the next year, but those are your highlights from the state budget. The next item, this will be your first point for a vote, if you would be kind enough to do so, are your grants. So after all that back and forth, here you have your grant appropriations for FY26. The better part, $800,000 altogether, again, roughly level funded from FY25, which is what we anticipated and built into your budget. My request to the committee would be to vote the federal grant appropriations. I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got about those.
Anyone have any questions? Okay,
So,
Yes, if you want to, yeah.
would someone like to make a motion?
Everybody good? Okay. I move that we approve the federal grant appropriations as presented this evening.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that. We'll build the
Thank you.
accounts for it. The next couple of items for a vote are the end of the fourth quarter of FY25, warrants for that, and then we'll do the first quarter for FY26. What you've got there in your fourth quarter is pretty typical fourth quarter for yourselves. Payroll is pretty typical. Your last payroll is usually your smallest because you've closed out your payments to teachers. And on your expenses, you probably see a July 3, July 10. That's just a catch up for bills that'll come in. They're FY25 bills that come in at the beginning of FY26. And usually that last FY25 is what we call a tailings. It's like it's like a sweep, essentially, of all our fund bills. Yeah. All in at the end of FY25, after we pay those bills, you'd also have a transfer over to the general government. It's called our turnback at the end of the year. It's about $30,000, $30,494.60. It's the better part of 1/10% of your total budget. And that's pretty typical. You'll probably land between 1/10 and 0.3% in a given year. And so my request to the committee, again, would be to vote the fourth quarter of FY25 and the turnback. Oh, and we do have the transfers there. They're just budget transfers, though, so it's not that we're going to change the expenses at all. This is really just me breaking things down to zero, right, within your own budget. But I'll answer any questions you've got on that as well.
Do you want to do the transfers first, or do you want to?
We can do the transfers first, please, yeah.
Then we'll do the vote on close out the transfers and the
For sure.
warrants.
Okay. I move to approve the final FY25 transfers and a turnback of $30,494.60 to the town as presented this evening.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just, as a discussion point, let's have Ron review the transfers first.
Very good.
Okay,
Yes.
Sorry.
We'll give those,
He hasn't looked at the actual transfers.
I'll put those up for you.
okay.
Sorry about that. My fault.
No, that's okay. I looked at them, but everyone knows I love that spreadsheet. so-
Okay. Just we should publicly
Yeah.
look at the transfers.
If you scroll to if you scroll to the bottom of this, Mr. Neef, for
Yeah.
just a moment. What you have here, again, as typical, sort of set up the same way as always. You've got your budget as a whole. Yep. And then we'll do the transfers in a moment. But if you scroll to the bottom right of that budget, please. So right there in column C, that's just your typical appropriation. That's what you've got on the warrant, $24,247,249 and some light change in pennies. You see your expense very close to that, and the difference between your expense and your appropriation is $30,494.60. And so that right there would represent your turn back to general government. And then if you look at the transfers tab, if you scroll to the right on that one, it's a little different than your typical transfers. Usually what we're doing is, we're running high on this particular account, so we're transferring money from this account to this account to cover that cost. This is not the case for your last transfers of the year. This is simply saying any account that ended in negative is going to get transferred to zero, and any account that ended in positive, we use some of that money to cancel out the negatives. So it's not transferring expenses at all. It really is just a balancing activity, if you will, an exercise, an accounting exercise. But as you see, as always, you're net zero for all your transfers for your last transfer in 25. Yeah, I'll answer any questions you have on the budget, any questions you have on transfers, on the turnback, you name it.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay,
All right.
so we have a motion and we have a second. If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I think I would just need a motion,
Then
please, for
the fourth quarter and
the
the
fourth quarter.
warrants.
Sorry, thank you,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. I move to approve the FY25 fourth quarter and FY26 first quarter warrants.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for all that.
Thank you for that. Sorry, it's confusing.
And just stay at student activities.
Oh, yeah.
No worries at all. Yep, Ron has another
Student
memo.
activities.
Thank you very
Not
much.
get to leave us just here.
I know.
Nope.
Okay. So as Mr. Neve pulls that up, this is just an annual fiduciary oversight activity for the committee. Give you, again, a quick primer on it. So Mass General Law governs how student activity funds are set up. You've got the chapter and verse there. Ultimately, student activity funds are students' funds that we are just custodians of, right? Not to do a history lesson here, but the intention of the statute actually was to give students an opportunity to learn financial acumen, right? To manage a checking account back when checks were a thing that people used, but to learn how money is used ultimately. And so the intention of the student activities laws and the way that student activities operate is that students run those accounts. They are the ones who own them. They are the ones who manage them. And the adults who support them in their student activities really just help them along in that process, guide them, and use this as another educational tool. Yeah. Because those funds are held within the auspices of the school committee, it's best practice to have the committee take a look at those accounts each year, vote anytime there is a new account, and at the beginning of each year, vote to affirm the starting balances for those accounts as well. And so what I have for you today is 2 votes is my request. The first is just the creation of a new account for your freshmen, so graduating class of 2029. You can see there at the bottom of your memo that I've got the account number for you. You would be starting with a balance of $500. And the second request I'd have for the committee, and you've got in your background, is to vote the existence of the current accounts. You've got 129 of them at the middle high school, and you've got 12 of them at the elementary school. What we do is we aggregate the balance at each of those buildings. So I don't know if this is maybe more than you care to know about it, but there's really just one bank account, if you will, that has the money for the middle high school, right? That bank account currently has $136,386.67, and it's split out into 129 sub-accounts, like what you see in your transfers that you just did. Yeah. The elementary school is similar. It's got a balance of $11,021.64, broken up into just 12 for all obvious reasons. I'll answer any questions you've got about accounts in either buildings, and request that you'd vote to establish the class of 2029 account, and request that you approve the existence of the 129 existing middle high school accounts and 12 CES accounts.
I move to approve the existence of 129 student activities accounts at the middle high school with an aggregate balance of $136,386.67, and the existence of 12 student activity accounts at the elementary school with an aggregate balance of $11,021.64.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I move to create a student activities account for the class of 2029 with a starting balance of $500.
I second.
We have another motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
folks.
much for all that
Thank you, Ron.
information. We appreciate it. And that brings us to the first reading of policy IJNDC-E, artificial intelligence.
Just making sure it's being shared, I think it is. Yeah, so last year, I put together a team of teachers and administrators from across the district to begin to develop an AI policy. Obviously, AI is an emerging technology that has tremendous impacts on our students and our teachers. And I know last year there was a very high-profile case locally in regards to AI. And we had a little bit of a discussion of should we start at the building level with handbook policies, or should we start at the district level? And after going through that discussion, we decided we're going to start at the district level with the hope of implementing this into our handbooks. So the team that I brought together, which was, as I said, teachers and administrators from across the district, from first grade teachers to teachers and juniors and seniors, and administrators, we went out, we did some research, we looked at other policies that had already been created. And surprisingly, there wasn't a lot yet. There was a lot of districts who had not yet developed a policy. MASC actually has not formalized an official policy recommendation on this topic, though I think it's coming. And we wanted to get out ahead of that curve and talk about it a little bit. So what we did is we did some research. We spoke with some other districts. We found some other district policies. We took that together, and Meredith and I actually created this a first draft of this policy, and then we brought it to the team. And then over several months, when that draft got rewritten, really got redesigned. And so it was a really good conversation over several meetings about what we want this policy to look like. So once that group had finished its recommendation, we then sent it to legal counsel for review. So legal counsel looked at it, made some changes, some edits, made some recommendations. We took those, looked at them, and made the updates. So the policy you see here is the policy that went through that process of being reviewed by teachers, administrators, and legal counsel. Then we brought it to the policy subcommittee last week, and the policy subcommittee voted to approve the policy and actually to make a recommendation to waive the first reading. Typically for policies, we have 2 readings, so we have an opportunity to read. So it was reviewed once by the school committee. The second reading does give the community notice and the opportunity to weigh in on the policy before it's implemented. But our thought process here of waiving the second reading and approving the policy tonight is based on we'd love to have it get into the handbooks for the start of the school year before the first day of school. Certainly if the committee, our handbooks are all online now, so certainly we could add it in after the fact. We'd have to send out an addendum to people because people sign off that they've approved the handbooks. But I do think it's valuable to have the policy in place prior to the start of the school year. So that's why there's a recommendation to waive the second reading and to approve the policy tonight. I'm not going to read the document to you. Obviously, I'll just look at some of the concepts. So first of all, privacy, security, supervision. We have to make sure that all the AI products we're using are FERPA and COPPA compliant, that they meet all the data privacy laws. Second, this bias and discrimination piece is a huge piece. AI can only learn from its sources and prompts, so it may perpetuate biases, misinformation, or problematic content. AI platforms will be evaluated for bias to limit students' exposure to discrimination based on ability, race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, and/or any other legally protected status. In essence saying, look, we have to fact check the AI because sometimes the AI is wrong or is promoting or perpetuating a bias. The AI role in decision making is ultimately the key point here is saying that in the end, the AI cannot be a decision maker, which makes sense. The teacher, the administrator has to be the decision maker and not the AI. And then just the acceptable use for responsible use for students, highlighting the concepts that AI must be used to plagiarize, to cheat, to engage in dishonest academic work. But certainly, definitely within the past year and a half, like all new things, when this came out originally, there was an initial reaction of, hey, we have to say you can't use this. Then it became a reality piece of, that's not realistic. The reality is throughout time, there's always new tools and technology. And what you have to do is teach people how to use those tools and technologies in an appropriate manner. So I think this policy really focuses on that idea of we do need to educate students on how to effectively use AI. We have to educate ourselves. There's still a learning curve for all of us. And that's why we're doing some professional development on this, where we have Matt Rivers coming in to work with teachers and staff to talk about how we can effectively and appropriately use AI. And I think a lot of those discussions are going to align with what we have here in the policy. Then ultimately, if someone does something inappropriate, kind of this last piece at the end, if someone does something inappropriate with their AI resources, we can certainly discipline them for that. And if appropriate, notify the appropriate authorities or state agencies if someone does something that's really inappropriate using AI resources that are made available to them through the school. So that's my overall summary. As I said, it's gone through a lot of review over the last really 8 months. This started last December, last January, 8-9 months we've been working on this. And the recommendation is to waive the second reading and approve the policy tonight. And at this point, I'll open it up to any questions.
Anyone? We did discuss this at a policy subcommittee meeting, and we know that this is changing. It'll be changing every day, every hour, for the foreseeable future. But I think it's important for us to have something in place that the district can use when the kids return to school to start off. And this, like every other policy, is a living, breathing document that I'm sure we'll have to revisit.
And like I said, actually, I think MASC is going to come out with a recommendation on an AI policy sometime in the next couple months. And then we'll probably compare this to that and look at that. But I do agree it would be good to have something in place to start the year.
Absolutely, it's just exploding everywhere, so it's time, we had to do it.
Absolutely.
Is there precedent for waiving the second reading?
Yes, so we have waived the second reading before. I don't know if I can give you, I 100%
Can you cite
know.
those precedents?
I 100% know that we have waived the second reading.
Okay.
We've done it.
Is that-
We've done it, yeah, we've done it a bunch of
Okay.
times.
Yeah.
As things come up,
I was like, I don't know if I can name a specific policy where we
No,
waived the
I'm
second
trying
reading
to
off the
think
top
if
of
there's
my head.
anything,
Right.
but we did it a few times.
I remember you being like, hey, the reason we don't waive these is because we need to give people a chance to.
That, ultimately, that's the
we-
purpose of the two
right.
meetings is this,
Yep.
this meeting notified the community
Yeah.
that there's gonna be an AI policy. And it gives them, the second meeting would give them 3 weeks to look at it and come and give feedback on it at public input.
Yeah,
Because
Or
when I
before
first
that.
came on, like, someone was very excited to like waive it and vote every single time we introduce
Yes.
something.
and it's not, yeah, it's
yeah.
It's not applicable to, it's not reasonable to do that for
Yeah.
every single policy that comes before the policy subcommittee. But like anything else, once this becomes effective, if anyone in the community or in the district, has issues, they can certainly reach out to leadership in the district to have those questions addressed.
A lot of the times, Bill, when we've done it, it's been like we've changed one sentence or we've
Yes.
fixed a spelling mistake.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
there hasn't been anything revolutionary
No.
that
I
we've
just
waived
don't
it
want
for.
a 45-page email, so.
well, you still might get it. We never
Right,
know.
you may get one anyway.
You never know. All right, any more questions?
Anyone have any more questions, concerns? And I think MASC will be coming out with something. I know that there's a group of attorneys in education across the country that are involved in a discussion, and they're all kind of chewing on it at the moment, but there will be something forthcoming that will address as necessary.
Okay. All right, so I move to waive the second reading and approve policy IJNDC-E, artificial intelligence, AI, as presented this evening.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. So that brings us to student handbook update.
Yeah, so I want to give you, so this is actually a recommendation for a student handbook change both at the elementary school and the middle high school. And it's based on the Supreme Court decision of Mahmoud versus Taylor, which was released over the summer. So on July 27th, the Supreme Court ruled in the case of Mahmoud versus Taylor. I'll give you a little background on the case and a little bit of how we've gotten to this handbook recommendation for tonight. Again, we're looking to, we'd love to have this statement in the handbooks to start the school year. So the Montgomery Public Schools in Maryland in 2022 actually approved LGBTQ plus inclusive books for its English language arts curriculum at the elementary school. So they actually identified one book, this is my understanding, that would be read at each grade level across the county. In the very beginning, when they approved this, they actually notified parents and gave parents the ability to opt out. The next year, in 2023, they reversed that decision. They kept the books in the curriculum, but they got rid of the opt-out and they got rid of the notification to parents. So a group of parents, several parents from different religious backgrounds, including Muslims, Roman Catholics, Orthodox, sued the board, arguing that the denial of notice and the opt-out options violated their religious freedom and their parental rights. So the Supreme Court, in this decision, ruled in favor of the families and against the school district. So this case went all the way over 2 years, went through the process, went to the Supreme Court. And in the end, the Supreme Court determined that the government or schools cannot enact policies that violates parents' free expression exercises when they substantially interfere with the religious development of children by placing them in an environment hostile to their religious beliefs, that's the language they use, which pressures to conform to contrary viewpoints. So in essence, they said, that you can't place a student in a situation where they're going to be explicitly told or taught something or have something in the curriculum that's against their specific religious belief and then feel a pressure to conform. The parents' position on this, they were not looking to remove these books from the curriculum. Their position was, we just want to have notice and opt-out. So they're saying, we're not looking for you to get rid of this. We understand it might be appropriate. It might be appropriate for some families, it might be appropriate for some kids. It's just our religious beliefs, what's being taught in some of these titles, and literally I believe it was one book at each grade level, what's being taught in these titles goes against our religious beliefs, and we just want to have the opportunity to have our students not participate. And the Supreme Court ruled that they have that opportunity. The concern about this ruling is there's a fear that this ruling may be generalized and that families may begin to question all parts of the curriculum and say that piece of the curriculum is against my religious belief and I want my child to be opted out of it. So there's been a lot of discussion over the summer of how school districts should respond to this. And actually the Mass Association of School Committees, the Mass Association of School Superintendents, and actually the major law firms that represent school districts throughout the Commonwealth put together a little team. Justin Gomes, our attorney, was actually the representative for Stoneman, Chandler, and Miller. So he went to this meeting of attorneys and representatives from the Mass Association of School Superintendents and the Mass Association of School Committees. And they came up with a statement that they're recommending be placed in student handbooks in regards to this decision. Because ultimately the decision does allow parents to question pieces of the curriculum if they believe that piece of the curriculum goes against their defined religious beliefs. So this is the recommendation of the statement that be added to handbooks this year. I'll read it. Consistent with Massachusetts Regulations 603 CMR 26.051. The Carver Public Schools, through its curriculum materials, encourages respect for the human and civil rights of all individuals, regardless of race, color, sex, gender identity, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation. In accordance with the district guidelines, families may request information from the building principal on available accommodations related to curriculum content. And really, it's the last sentence is the key sentence, saying that we're just notifying and putting in our handbooks. So this becomes the notification piece. We're notifying families that they may request to the building principal information about the curriculum and say, hey, I want to learn more about this, what this thing is. And then ultimately, if they have the right to opt out, if they put in writing that curriculum or that content is expressly against their religious beliefs. So this is the recommendation from, I said, various groups that school districts and specifically the Carver Public Schools, obviously I've talked about this and I got this specifically from our attorney as a recommendation that this paragraph, this phrase be added into the handbooks both at the middle high school and at the elementary school. And then ultimately we're having a public meeting at the school committee where we're saying, we're right, parents have the right to request information about curriculum to the principal. So we're, as a district, we're saying you should, and we're going to say to teachers, if a parent makes a request to a teacher, that teacher should notify the principal. And then the principal will work with the families to make sure they have access to the curriculum. And then if they were going to make an objection and look to opt out, that would go through the principal, not through the classroom teacher. So that's the process we'd like to take and follow to align with the decision in Mahmood versus Taylor. I know I just went over a lot of things, and to the best of my ability, answer questions, any questions you may have about this.
Does anyone have any questions?
Bill?
No. I'm curious about what the logistics would be for a student who opts out of a major section of their curriculum. Like, what would you do
Yeah, I think obviously there's going to have to be some level of litmus test of, does that piece of the curriculum like actually go against their specific religious belief, which is a hard thing to do, because ultimately, how much research, how much challenge are you going to do if they put in writing this piece of the curriculum is against my religious belief? The interesting decision, the interesting part of this decision is it actually does not, the decision does not require, it doesn't mean we shouldn't, but the decision does not require that you give them an alternative curriculum. It just says, and the parents didn't ask for that. They just said, we don't want our students to participate in that piece of the curriculum. So yeah, ultimately, I don't know, I didn't do enough research on the background of the case. I don't know why Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland switched their policy, because originally they told everyone, hey, we added this book to the curriculum and you can opt out. And then the second year they pulled that away, and in the case, their defense was it became too difficult to manage. Right? That's not a realistic thing for the school district to be able to manage of, if individual students are saying, I don't want to take part in this book, this history lesson, this essay, and they just said that's just too difficult to manage, so we're pulling that back, and hey, this is part of the curriculum. And ultimately, I think I don't have a great answer for you, Bill, of what's going to happen if, honestly, I don't think we're going to see a lot of people looking to opt out. And I think our initial position is going to be, let's see how many people asked to do that or decide to do that. And at this point, the position of the district would be to not give them an alternative curriculum. They're making the choice to not participate in that piece, so that student's going to have to come out of the room, and then the principal's going to have to manage the logistic part of, where do they go?
Right.
When they leave the room, are they going into another classroom that's doing something different at that same grade level? I think most of this is going to happen at the elementary level if it does happen. Not saying it couldn't happen at the middle or high school level. Middle high school logistically might be a little easier to manage, because you certainly don't want to have the student go to the office because their parents are opting them out of the curriculum, because they can view that as punitive. I don't know if they have to go with a counselor or another adult, because even counselor might seem punitive. Not that they'd be going with the counselor. The counselors are just more available. You know what I mean? It's not. So they're going to have to go with some other adult. And be removed from the classroom. And our position at this time is to say we're not going to give them an alternative curriculum. And then we'll see where it goes. Yeah. We'll see how many people we have contacted us. We have see how many people are looking to opt out of pieces of the curriculum, what pieces of the curriculum they're looking to opt out. Certainly we do not have an identified book at each grade level specific to the facts of this case, right, which is LGBTQ plus curriculum. So we haven't identified, yes, we're going to read a book with that theme at each grade level as part of the stated curriculum. So we'll have to just kind of see where it goes. But ultimately, I do think we have a responsibility to notify the community that this is a right they now have based on the Supreme Court decision.
I hope it makes families take more pride or concentration to their children's curriculum. As maybe it will put people into a place where they're, okay, I really need to be an eye on what's going on, as opposed to just kind of just letting it go.
And I also think that part of the responsibility is going to become making sure that we have access to the curriculum on the website.
Exactly.
So that parents can access and look at the basic titles and what is the formalized curriculum within units of study, within Bridges Math, within the core readings at the middle high school and English for each of the grade levels. I think most of your challenges, if we see any, will be around the concept of books and literature, maybe history, maybe some social science pieces. I don't think we'll get a lot of challenge in science or math. I think it will be more on the humanities side. And ultimately, parents already have this right in regard to health education and sex education. Yeah. They have the right to opt out of those topics. And the number of people who we have do that over the years is very small. It's happened. We've had families who have opted out of a portion of health class. But that's been a little easier because most of our health classes, some sort of combined, they end up going to the gym. So that's a little bit of an easier thing to manage. Other areas would be harder to say, yeah, you're going to just go down to the gym. So we'll have to see, we'll have to find out the impact of this.
Yeah, Maryland has an exemption form for immunizations for students for religious grounds. I'm sure there's probably a form out there somewhere that they've created. I can't find it, but it could certainly become an issue to track it depending upon how many requests are made. But if that's the case, then
Yeah, if we seem to have an inordinate number of requests and it becomes a management issue, so that's something the administration is going to have to take on and come up with solutions to.
Yeah, I just figured I would try to look to see if they had a form already published, but there's just one for immunizations.
So we are recommending that we add this into both handbooks, and the purpose of adding this into both handbooks is part of the notification piece.
Yes.
So the parents have written notification that they have these rights.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, would you like to make the motion?
Okay, I move that the following statement be added to both the elementary and middle high school handbook, consistent with Massachusetts Regulation 603, CMR 26.05. 1. The Carver Public Schools, through its curricula and materials, encourages respect for human and civil rights of all individuals, regardless of race, color, sex, gender, identity, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation. In accordance with the district guidelines, families may request from the building principal on available accommodations related to the curriculum content.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, is there any discussion or any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say thank you for being preemptive and for making this addition to the handbooks. Okay, so that brings us to disposition of materials.
So we have a couple of things. Following items have been determined to no longer be in use in the district. If these are voted as surplus by the school committee, the district would first attempt to sell these items. If we're unable to sell them, the district would attempt to donate them to other schools or nonprofits in the area. If no one have unable to have anybody take them or sell them, then the district will dispose of them. So it's a set of elementary Bridges math workbooks, and there's some cafeteria furniture. So actually saying the cafeteria furniture is all of our current furniture. Obviously, we're not going to get rid of any of that furniture until the new furniture is in. But it gives Ron the opportunity to start trying to find some homes for that furniture, because I think there's some opportunities there, maybe, to find some homes for some of that furniture. I don't know, Ron, if there's anything you want to add specifically?
Just on the cafeteria furniture, it's very unlikely that that particular set of furniture will find a home. I've put out some initial feelers just to see what that looks like. We're not the only school community that receives federal funding as well for food services. And so these cafeteria renovations have happened quite a bit over the past few years in like this area. So most school districts that are looking to get something new are going to get something new, right? That said, we may have an opportunity with the vendor, though, to remove the furniture at no cost. Furniture that size actually will cost you money to dispose of. So I've done some preemptive looking around to see if we can donate. You're not going to sell it, I don't think, at this point. So I just want to be upfront with the committee to say, like, if you'd vote this surplus upon finishing that contract out with this vendor, we'd include the removal free of cost as part of that project.
Excellent.
Yeah, good.
That's great. Thank you for
We were
being preemptive.
We were originally talking about looking at some student desks this evening as well, but we just don't have all the totals on that yet.
Okay.
So you have in the background, you have the specific information on the Bridges math materials and on the cafeteria tables. We're still putting together some information on the student desks. So I would remove the student desks from the proposed motion in terms of, but we're looking to bring that back at either, most likely the next meeting, we'll have another disposition of materials with some more details on the student desks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Would you like to make a motion?
I move to deem the elementary Bridges math workbooks and cafeteria for furniture as surplus.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to field trips.
Yeah, have a whole.
Three.
We have three field trips coming up. 8th grade to New York in this December. Traditional grade 11 trip to Salem in October. That's Salem, Mass. and Salem, New Hampshire, which are close to each other, but they go to both. And 9 through 12, this is actually a new trip. Chorus grades 9 to 12 to New York City in March of 2026.
That's a good one.
Is it 26 or 27?
I
The
think,
form says 27.
I believe it's 26. I believe it's this spring.
Okay. I did notice that on here, so that's why I want to make sure that we have the dates right.
Yeah, so I would recommend approval of all of these field trips.
Okay. I move to approve the 8th grade field trip to New York City in December of 2025, the grade 11 field trip to Salem, Mass. and New Hampshire in October of 2025, and the grade 9 through 12 chorus field trip to New York City in March of 2026.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have fun, everyone. Okay, so that brings us to reports from the school committee. Woohoo! Nearly there. So first I want to thank everyone that came to our retreat. We were able to review our school committee goals and our protocols that we typically reaffirm at the beginning of every school year as a committee. We typically do that, the first meeting after the election. But this year we chose to postpone so that we as a committee could have a chance to review them to see if there was anything we felt like we needed to update. So I apologize for that. The school committee goals are in everyone's background. I know, Bill, you weren't able to be there. You were missed. Certainly, if there's anything that you'd like to add or update, just, let us know. Certainly something that we can revisit. If you want to abstain from voting on them, you're more than welcome to do that.
Well, I've read
It's up
them,
to you.
so I think
Okay.
I'm comfortable voting.
Excellent. That's great. Thank you for reading them. So I will quickly read the intro at least. So it's school committee goals for 2025-2026. We are establishing these goals in support of the district's educational blueprint. The Carver School Committee is dedicated to continuous improvement and will collaborate to promote standards to ensure all students become empowered learners and responsible citizens through a comprehensive curriculum that inspires students to learn and think creatively in a safe, supportive, and inclusive environment. We have goals under leadership, communication, and professional development, and that is professional development that particularly pertains to the school committee. What is everyone's thoughts about my reading these? These will be published on our website, correct?
Yeah.
If people want to seek them out and read them, they will be published on the school's website, on the school committee page. There'll be topics that we will be discussing and addressing throughout the school year, and we will most likely refer back to it as working on one of our goals. So we would need to vote that separately from the protocols. If you'd like to make a motion.
I move to approve the school committee goals reviewed at the meeting.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we also reviewed the school committee protocols. Would you like to read the information about those?
I will read the school committee protocols
Okay.
if you'd like me to.
Just
I
the
can certainly do
intro
that.
piece,
Just the intro?
right? Or you're more than
You
welcome to
do
read
whatever
them
you,
all
I'll
as
do whatever
well.
you'd like me to do.
Or I can read them, it's up to you.
So I'm just sharing them out. For the purpose of enhancing teamwork among members of the school committee and between our school committee and the administration, we, the members of the Carver School Committee, do hereby commit ourselves to the following operating protocols. And there's a list of 12 of them.
Yes, and this is something that was established soon after Superintendent Neath became superintendent in 2016, and we have reviewed them a few times in the past. We chose not to make any changes on Monday as we felt that they were all still relevant to our purview as school committee members.
And these can also be, I'm not sure, Gina, if it's on the website, but we can certainly put the protocols on
I
the website.
believe they
now,
are.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe they are there. So if everyone is comfortable, we can make a motion, and if there's any discussion, we can talk about them.
Good.
Okay.
Would you
like to make a motion?
I move to reaffirm the school committee protocols.
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. If there is no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all of your input. So next and the final item on our school committee updates is the annual conference for the it's a joint conference between the Massachusetts Association of School Committees and the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents. It will be happening in Hyannis, Massachusetts for the last time this year, on November 12th to the 14th. At the Emerald Resort, they have sold the conference portion of their resort to a education space, so they're no longer going to be able to accommodate conferences moving forward.
That's a bummer.
So it is, I think, bittersweet, but to me, it also is going to give us an opportunity to showcase different districts and different areas of our state. So I think a lot of people love coming to the Cape, but some people would like to see it in different districts. So this is the last year that it will be in our backyard, at least for now. We haven't found anywhere else on the Cape that can accommodate the conference at this size. So I just want to mention that to everyone. If it's something that you would like to attend, that is the expenses covered by partially by the district, and also I can certainly procure tickets and space. I'm hoping that we'll be able to get everyone maybe to go down for the dinner on Wednesday night. That's where the newly appointed DESE Commissioner Pedro Martinez will be speaking. So that's usually a good presentation when we have the DESE Commissioner come. There's also a few other sessions that I think there's always going to be sessions that are worth attending. Amanda Ripley, who's a New York Times bestselling author and journalist, is going to have a presentation on Thursday.
Sorry.
God bless you. God bless you. And then on Friday during the general session, there'll be a panel of state and congressional leaders, and there'll also be additional speakers that will be announced moving forward. The registration is open. We can kind of pick and choose. I know there's the cost cap, which is the conference for administrative professionals to attend. So on Friday, November 14th, if Gina has it in her schedule, worked out with Superintendent Neath for her to attend as well. I always find it to be a very rewarding conference. It's great to attend the sessions, see old friends, make new friends, learn new and exciting things that are happening in districts, and also it's an opportunity for us to share what's happening in our district with others. So it's a great opportunity to network as a school committee member and interact with people who understand what it's like to sit in our seats. So I highly recommend it, and I'm sure everyone, if you have not already received your booklet, you shall be. So for September, we will need to vote a delegate for the delegate assembly that will take place at the annual conference. So I'll make sure that I share that form. And once I have them, I will bring the resolutions that are going to be presented at the delegate assembly to the committee for everyone to review. So we can look at those and discuss them before the conference takes place. So the delegate appointee form is due by October 20th. So that is that. And If you would like to attend the delegate assembly, you are more than welcome to, even if you are not the delegate. And it is free and open for anyone to attend. It's always entertaining. There's never a dull moment. Also, as part of that, the slate of the executive officers for the 2026 year are voted. And I think everyone knows that I am on the docket to become vice president of MASC for 2026. So I'm the current secretary treasurer, and it's been a great learning experience. And I look forward to hopefully seeing some familiar faces there. I know everyone's busy and it's during the week. I know that it can be tough to attend, so I'm hoping that maybe we can get together at one of the dinners as a committee.
Okay.
So beyond that, I want to just quickly mention that in October, I will be attending the National School Board Association's Eastern Regional Conference in upstate New York. I know there's so many acronyms, it's crazy. I'm not sure how I can keep all of them straight. But that's a great learning opportunity for our region representatives to get together to discuss what's happening across our region and then nationally as well. So I will report back information from that to the committee as well. And I do have documentation that I will bring for September from our boot camp that we did in July regarding collective bargaining to share with everyone as well. So that is my MASC update for the conference. I just want to very quickly wish everyone a happy, joyous, safe, stress-free return to school next week.
Second that.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to add?
Nope.
Okay, would someone like to make?
Just
sorry.
just a reminder, we have our building tours meeting this Wednesday at 6
Yes.
o'clock, starting at
6
the
o'clock,
elementary
starting at the
school.
elementary school, right? Yes.
On August 20th, and then we actually have a athletic policy subcommittee meeting on August 25th, next Monday at 5 o'clock. If Bill and Stephanie, that still works for you.
Yes. That's still good for you?
All right, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't there something else next Monday?
I have a roundtable discussion online with MASC
So, yes,
Monday
we're gonna do 5 o'clock.
at 6 p.m. on Zoom.
Oh, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, yeah.
Yes.
I got it written down somewhere.
Yes, we're right back into it, which is always great. It's great to hear about everything happening in our district and how we can be supportive. So with that, if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. I move that we adjourn the August 18th, 2025 school committee meeting open session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. 8:06 p.m. I officially call the August 18th, 2025 meeting of the Carver School Committee end. Over.